Another top 10 season for number 5 Maryland field hockey has seen the Terps climb the ladder within the Big Ten standings. With postseason play around the corner, Coach Missy Maharg and company have national championship aspirations once again. The Red Hot Terps have won 7 of their last 9 games, but just how far can this team go? All that and more coming up on this edition of the Left Bench in Focus.
Excited for our 7 seniors. Everybody got a lot of minutes in that class. We had some tactical changes in the second half that really worked to our favor.
Welcome back to the Left Bench in Focus, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Benji Kaufman alongside another Ben G, Ben Geffner, and Ben. Maryland field hockey has had another strong season under Missy Maharg, another top 10 squad looking to make some noise in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, Benji, the Terps have seen one of the best teams in the country, but let's take a look at Maryland's recent win. Maryland made the 3.5-hour drive to Happy Valley this past weekend for a Friday night duel with then number 17 ranked Penn State. Just 3 minutes in, Maryland strikes first, courtesy of a second effort tip-in shot from Ella Gayden. The early goal puts the Terps in the driver's seat, but Penn State levels just minutes later. A second quarter Sophia Gladio goal provides the Nittany Lions equalizer, deadlocking the score at 1 apiece before the half. An electric sequence opens to start the third quarter. First, a diving effort, an impressive score from Annemiek Kleinout to break the silence just 30 seconds into the second half. The Terps' second third quarter goal comes midway through the period. Macy Bradford assists and Hope Rose perfectly times the chip shot. It's deja vu to end the third quarter. Another Rose goal gives the Terps a cushion in a dominant 4-2 road win in Maryland's final regular season match.
Maryland field hockey enters the Big Ten tournament with the number 2 seed and ranks 5th in the country. But let's take a look at how the Terps got here. The Terps began the year 3-0 before back-to-back 1-0 losses to 2 top 5 teams in the former ACC foes, Duke and Virginia. Maryland then won 6 of its next 7 games, with its only loss coming to another top 5 team in Northwestern. Coach Missy Maharg's squad outscored opponents 26-6 in that 7-game stretch. In its final 5 games, Maryland goes 3-2 heading into postseason play, finishing the season 12-5, 6-2 in conference play. Senior Hope Rose leads the team in goals with 11, and sophomore Josie Holloman's 5 assists leads the Terps.
Now to help us break down another successful Maryland season, we're joined by Aidan Currie, Terps field hockey beat reporter for the Diamondback. Aidan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Starting off, Aidan, Maryland's season last year ended in the second round, so how is this year's team different, and what's it going to take for them to get past the second round?
I think the biggest difference between this year's squad and last year's squad is just the experience level. I think in the attack, you have a fairly new attack with a lot of fresh faces. Annemiek Kleinout, Ella Gayden, 2 of Maryland star freshmen. This is going to be their first Big Ten tournament and their first NCAA tournament experience. And then, you also bring back midfielder Emma Burdine. That's going to be huge help, having Olympic experience come tournament time. She understands the pressure of these big game situations. She's going to be a huge leader for this squad during the next 2 or 3 weeks potentially. But I think, the nucleus of this team is its defense. The defense is Maryland field hockey's biggest strength this year. And part of that is because, like I said, experience. Everybody's returning from last year. Erica Morse-Adams, Josie Holloman, Alyssa Klobasco, Rain Wright. All 4 of them form one of the best defensive units in the Big Ten, one of the best defensive units in the country. And so having that experience come tournament time is going to be huge because one of the biggest strengths for defenders is always their experience. Attackers, a lot of times goal scorers and attackers, that's obviously a refined skill, but in some ways it's a natural skill too. Defending is a lot less of a natural skill. It's more of a learned skill. And so when you have that experience in defense, it makes the rest of your team really strong.
Now, 2-star freshmen Ella Gayden and Annemiek Kleinout, they've really emerged as primary contributors for this team this year. Can you speak to their gradual growth and importance to this team? How key are they, and how key have they been this year?
They've both been huge. Ella Gayden, the Big Ten freshman leading goal scorer this year. When you can bring in a freshman like that, it's obviously going to be huge for your team. And Maryland has kind of a knack for doing that. You have Hope Rose come in a couple years ago. She does something similar. Macy Bradford last year, great as a freshman. And so, at Maryland, you kind of have this long line of potent freshman scorers, and I think that's something that Allegaden falls into that line, so to speak, which is big for not just this team but Maryland's program moving forward. And Anneman Kleinout, she's a little bit of a different player from Gaden, less of an out-and-out forward. Her contributions aren't going to show up in the box score because she's not, she doesn't score as many goals as Gaden, but her impact is still just as important because she's a key cog that transitions Maryland's midfield play from defense to attack, and that's one of their biggest strengths, counterattacking.
Now, a team that everyone is going to watch going into the tournament, and a team that's probably in the back of Maryland's head, is Northwestern. The two teams have a lot of history, so what's it going to take for Maryland to get past Northwestern in a probable rematch in the championship?
I think if that's the meaning that we get in the championship, I think the winner is going to be whoever scores first. Maryland Northwestern, this is a matchup that's become known for being somewhat of a defensive war in some ways. Usually the team that scores first wins, and usually it's a one-score game. Earlier this season, 1-0 win in Northwestern, I believe, when they met in the tournament last year. I believe it was the Big Ten championship last year. 1-0, same result in overtime. So the key to this potential matchup is going to be whoever scores first. If Maryland can score first, I think they can hold on for a win, because when the two teams met earlier this year in the regular season, Maryland kind of fell behind in the first quarter. They played 3 really good quarters after that, but when they went a goal behind in that first quarter, it's hard to recover, especially against a team as good as Northwestern.
Now, Hope Rose has been a leader of the team all season long, pacing the team in goals, but that comes after a change role in the midfield. Speak to that a little bit. How has that change benefited both Maryland and Rose throughout the course of the season?
Yeah, I think it's kind of been an interesting, I think a lot of people were a little bit surprised when they heard that, when they heard Coach Missy Maharg say that Rose is moving into the midfield this season. I think, or at the beginning of the season at least, I think there's the expectation that, because you lost some of the forwards from last year, that you would want Rose, one of your main returning attackers, to kind of continue that role in the forward line. And so Missy said at the beginning of the season she's moving her back to the midfield position, and her main reason for doing so was to use Hope's midfield speed moving forward, which I think we saw a lot during at the beginning of the season, and we still see it now. But over the course of the year, she's kind of evolved from less of a midfield role to more of a back and forth role, almost. So she kind of toes the line between attack and midfield. And field hockey is a sport where there's a lot of position fluidity, so it's not that surprising. But I think we've seen Hope kind of find a good balance of both, where she's spending an adequate amount of time taking care of midfield duties while also getting forward when necessary, scoring the goals, and just leading the Maryland attack as per.
Now, just a quick follow-up to that. With Rose at the helm of this Maryland attack, what's the ceiling for the Terps? How far can they go this year?
If you ask the team, they'd say to win a national championship. Obviously, I think that's going to be really difficult. I do think that they are one of the best teams in the country, but some of the two favorites are always going to be North Carolina and Northwestern. And getting past Northwestern might be a little bit, I don't want to call it easier because it's never going to be easy, but it might be a little simpler than getting past North Carolina, because Maryland has, when you're in the same conference as a team, you naturally over time when you play them enough, you learn their tendencies and you get used to how they play. So this Maryland team knows Northwestern. North Carolina is a little bit of a different animal. They don't play them as much. They only see them every couple of years if they meet in the tournament or preseason, whatever it may be. And so, getting all the way to a national championship is going to be tough. I think they can do it. Rose, as you mentioned, will be a huge part of them doing that, because the defense is the nucleus of this team, but it goes and falls with its attack. If the attack's on, then they're going to go far. If the attack falters, then they're going to slip.
Some of the best goalkeepers in the country will be playing in College Park this weekend for the Big Ten tournament, including Maryland's own Alyssa Klobasco. So how would you rate her 2024 season, and how important is she to the success of this team?
I think with any team, no matter what level it is, your most important player is always going to be your goalkeeper. Alyssa Klobasco, she was, had a phenomenal freshman season, kind of took the Big Ten, took the Terps by storm in some ways. And this season, her, statistically speaking, she doesn't have the same save percentage and output that she's had last year. That's a little bit down from last year, but I still think she's been terrific this year. she's making, I mean, a lot of the goals that she's conceded have, come in situations where, there's been some garbage time goals, there's been some really close range goals where she just gets unlucky, she'll make a save, it rebounds right to another player and it goes in. There's only so much she can do about that, but she's still making the excellent saves. Obviously you got to make the simple saves, which she's doing, but she's also making the excellent saves, which is a testament to how good she is as a goalkeeper.
Well, thanks for joining us, Aidan. We're looking forward to reading your coverage all postseason long.
You can follow along with all the Aidan's coverage at Aidan_Currie_ on X and at dbknews.com. Now, don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll look at some bracketology ahead of the postseason and talk about teams around the country to keep an eye on for the NCAA tournament.
And we'll name our Terp of the Year and look back at the top 5 plays of the Terp season. Stay with us.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
It took 20 years, and I got my 3rd child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Welcome back to the Left Bench in Focus, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Ben Geffner, and it's tournament time here in College Park. 7 teams take the turf later this week for the annual Big Ten tournament, right here at Maryland's Field Hockey and Lacrosse Complex. With the postseason entering full swing, it's time to take a page out of Joe Lenardi's book. Benji, we've got some Big Ten bracketology.
Yep, now that we have the Big Ten tournament bracket in front of us, Ben, why don't you get us started with the first thing we should all look for?
No doubt. So Maryland, their first time hosting the Big Ten tournament since 2016. They're 7-3 at home this season, so that home field advantage coming into full swing. You see they avoid Northwestern and Ohio State, 2 teams Maryland lost to in the regular season, so a big time path there through there. And then Iowa and Indiana, 2 teams they both beat by wide margins as well. So a very favorable bottom half of the bracket here for Maryland.
Yep, these are 2. The first matchup for Maryland is Iowa, who have they shut out. And then if they win, they play either Michigan or Indiana. They also shut them out. So this is a favorable matchup for Maryland. It's also at home. But yeah, you said it. It'd be Maryland. It'd be Ohio State or Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game. Huge challenge for Maryland.
No doubt. Now if we move on to the Northwestern side, Benji, you want to get us going with that?
Yeah, Northwestern, they are a wagon. 18-0. 10 of those 18 wins have been by 2 or more goals on the year. They have 2 Olympians on the roster, one of them being Ashley Sessa, who leads the Big Ten in goals and assists. Northwestern is a buzzsaw.
You mentioned Ashley Sessa. Seeing that second-round matchup, if Ohio State can advance past Rutgers, they play Northwestern. A really exciting matchup between Ashley Sessa and McKenna Webster there. Ohio State played Northwestern pretty close in the regular season. It was 2-1. That's been Northwestern's closest win throughout. So look for that second-round matchup there in the semis.
Yep, and that'll do it for Maryland's path through the Big Ten championships. But what about teams in the national landscape?
Start to look at the national landscape here. North Carolina, Duke, 2 teams that could provide trouble for the Terps down the line. North Carolina, #1 team all season long, trading places with Northwestern. They're coming off, a national championship last year, so a lot of pedigree, and you have the history there with North Carolina.
Yep, UConn, 4 ranked wins in the Big East, and North Carolina, they've won the championship 5 of the last 6 years. There's no reason they can't do it again. But now, Ben, without further ado, let's hand out some awards.
Let's do it. Our first honoree has certainly played to the standard this season, bringing an abundance of instant offense to College Park. Ella Gaydon is our Newcomer of the Year. Gaydon leads all Big Ten freshmen in goals scored and sits within the conference's top 10 in total goals and points. Red-hot play offensively has led to goals in each of Maryland's last 2 games and 5 of its last 8. The freshman forward has started every game for the Terps, making an immediate impact and turning heads with 3 2024 Big Ten Freshman of the Week honors, the latest coming this past Monday after yet another 2-goal weekend. Gaydon and the Terps are peaking at the right time, and it's going to be fun to see this newcomer continue to build in the postseason on an already impressive year, Benji.
Our second honoree has been a constant force for the Terps all year long, leading the team in goals as a key offensive catalyst. This season's Maryland Field Hockey Terp of the Year is senior midfielder Hope Rose. Rose has been on a tear as of late, scoring goals in each of the Terps' last 5 games, good for 5 goals in that stretch. The senior midfielder has been the Terps' go-to scorer all season long, with 3 game-winning goals and a Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week honor to boast. It's easy to see why. Rose ranks within the nation's top 30 in goals per game and holds a top 5 spot in total Big Ten goals scored. Rose's immediate impact offensive production has paced the Terps' attack all season long. Without it, this team may look a lot different.
Now let's get into our top 5 plays of the regular season. Benji, get us started.
I'll start it off. For number 5, we've got a little tip drill action here with Kylie Neiswanger. Ball is just sent in and then floated right over the top of the net against Michigan. Nice goal there.
Moving on to number 4, got a Josie Holloman through 2 defender ground shot. Oh my goodness, Holloman. What a shot there from the sophomore. Immediate impact all season long. You can see why. Through 2 defenders, what a play there.
And for number 3, we got a double tip drill here. This ball sent into Macy Bradford and then smacked inside by Knopert. This was against Michigan State. The ball is just sent in and then smacked in by Laura Knopert.
What a play. Moving on here to number 2, Carly Hine, her first goal of the season. Couldn't have come at a better time for the Terps. A little chip shot right past the defender, squeaking into that back right window of the net. What a shot. Her first career goal for Carly Hine.
For the top play of the year, Alyssa Klabasco, the goalkeeper, with a double save against Indiana, kept the game scoreless in Maryland's shutout win. 1 save here, another save right now for Alyssa Klabasco. She's been huge for Maryland this season.
That'll do it for this edition of the Left Bench in Focus, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. Ben Wolf and Andrew McBride will be behind the desk next week.
Be sure to stay tuned with all of our coverage on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.